Welcome to my channel. I'm Scott, and in this video I am going to walk you through the process of valuing Repsol stock by analyzing their financial statements and dissecting their financial ratios so we can determine if it's a buy or a sell. Repsol is an energy and petrochemical company. It is engaged in worldwide upstream and downstream activities. It is vertically integrated and operates in all areas of the oil and gas industry, including exploration and production, refining, distribution and marketing, petrochemicals, power generation, and trading. It has a new operating model, new partnerships, and plans to get to net zero emissions by 2030. It has been one of the more proactive companies trying to get to net zero. It is working on consolidating its assets. Some of the main places it operates in is Alaska, Mexico, Norway, UK, Libya, and Brazil. It is actively growing its renewable energy portfolio. An example of this is the development of wind and solar farms in Chile and Spain. The company is headquartered in Madrid, Spain, and was founded in 1987. It trades on the Bolsa de Madrid, Pink Sheets, Deutsche Börse, Mexican Bolsa, Xetra, Vienna, Italian Bourse, and London Stock Exchange. This ticker trades on the Pink Sheets, REPYY, but we're going to look at the ticker that trades in Madrid, so all the numbers in this video are in euros. Let's get started with the model. This is a large cap company, 17 billion market cap. They're trading at 11.6 euros, and they have 1.5 billion shares outstanding. Let's look at the financials. The way you value a company is you estimate the free cash flows into the future and then you discount those numbers back to today's value. That's what we're doing in this video. And free cash flow is cash flow from operations minus capital expenditures. So you can see they have positive free cash flow each year. It was lowest in 2020 due to low oil prices. Net income is the profit or loss on the income statement. It's revenue minus expenses. And that's negative in 2019 and 20 due to large write-offs, positive the other years. Revenue is the sales for the company, and that was really high in 18 and 19. It dropped a lot in 2020, but it is coming back up in the trailing 12 months. This is the company's income statement. The top line is the revenue of the sales. Here's a breakdown of their 2019 and 2020 revenue. 10% is from upstream activities. Upstream is the first step of the energy production process. It is when a company identifies, extracts, and produces oil or gas. A bulk of their revenue is from industrial. This is refining, biofuels, chemicals, trading, and they do get a good amount of revenue from commercial and renewables. This is mobility, liquefied petroleum gas, and different renewables and energy management. Sometimes revenue is put into multiple buckets. So in order not to double count, they minus in corporate. Here's a breakdown of their sales by country. And since they're located in Spain, it makes sense they have the most sales in Spain. 17 billion of the 33 billion. The US is second, then Peru, Portugal, and 10.5 billion in other countries. Every country decreased from 2019 due to lower commodity prices. The company's revenue and profits are highly dependent on the price of oil. In 2018 and 19, the price of oil was above $40 the entire time, and most of the time it was above $60. That's why their revenue was strong in 18 and 19, but 2020 was terrible for oil prices and oil-related companies, because look how low oil got. When it gets below $40 a barrel, most companies are losing money. It is coming back up a lot, as you can see, so 2021 should be pretty similar to 2019. So even if you do a lot of analysis and find a great oil company, if the price of oil gets really low, the stock will probably go down. On the flip side, if you don't do any research and you just invest in any oil company and the price of oil is skyrocketing, you're going to make a lot of money. Below revenue is the cost of revenue. These are the expenses directly related to generating the revenue. The cost of the products, cost of labor, and depreciation are all part of cost of revenue. Revenue minus cost of revenue gives you your gross profit, and that was highest in 2019, lowest in 2020. Below that is their operating expenses, then below that is their operating income. And that was negative in 2020, but it looks really good in the trailing 12 months. It's higher in the trailing 12 months than 2019, and there's a lot lower revenue in the trailing 12 months when compared to 2019. They paid $319 million of interest on their debt, which is the lowest amount of interest they paid in the past few years. And the bottom line of the income statement is their net income, which was positive in 2018 and the trailing 12 months, a big negative in 2019 and 2020. The reason it was negative in 2019 because of a lot of write-offs. When a company has a lot of assets on its balance sheet like this company, they tend to pass through a lot of write-offs and a lot of impairments. So these are non-cash items, so it can really be difficult looking at the income statement to figure out how well the company did. It's better to look at the statement of cash flows. But if you're valuing a company that's not so fixed asset heavy, then the income statement should be appropriate. This is the company's statement of cash flows. The top line is operating cash flow. That's how much cash the company generates from its operational business. So you can see they generate a good amount of operating cash flow. And their operating cash flow is more consistent with how their revenue was. That's why I said the statement of cash flows is a better indicator of how the company's doing than the income statement. Revenue is the only number in the income statement you could 100% rely on. The stuff below that can be skewed based off accounting. And a company like this spends a lot of money in CapEx. They probably need to spend at least $1 billion a year just to maintain their current projects. Plus they spend in CapEx on new projects as well. So they spend $1.5 billion up to $3.2 billion a year in CapEx. These are investments in property, plant, and equipment. Operating cash flow minus CapEx gives you your free cash flow. And every year they have positive free cash flow. So that's a good sign when you're investing in this company. In 2018 and 19, they bought back a lot of stock, nearly 2 billion euros. But in 2020 and the trailing 12 months, they bought back a similar amount of stock as they issued. When a company buys back stock, that decreases the shares outstanding, making your shares more valuable. And it looks like overall they're adding a similar amount of debt as they're paying down. This is the equity section of their balance sheet. They have 21 billion euros of equity. They raised 5.5 billion from selling their business, and they profited 13.5 billion from running their business. So that's good. Their retained earnings are a lot higher than additional paid-in capital. Retained earnings is a sum of all your prior net incomes minus the sum of your dividends paid. Even after paying out all those dividends, they still profited over 13 billion euros. And treasury stock is when you buy stock off the open market and put it onto your balance sheet. And this reduces your equity balance. Let's look at the capital structure. 21 billion of equity, 16 billion of debt. They're 57% equity, 43% debt. Their net debt is 9 billion, so they can pay off a lot of the debt with the cash on their balance sheet. And their WACC, according to Simply Wall Street, is 11.15%. Finbox, it's between 9 and 10%. Spain's country risk premium is A3, so they're very low risk. And the business climate rating is A1, which is the best rating. So I'm going to give them a WACC of 10%. I'm not going to use Simply Wall Street's WACC. Considering this is an oil company which brings in pretty stable revenue and cash flows, and also Spain is rated pretty highly. And that's a discount rate we're going to apply to the future cash flows. We estimated 4 years of future free cash flows. We also estimated a terminal value, which is all cash flows past year 4, that's 25 billion. We discounted those numbers back to today using the weighted average cost of capital. We get a value of the company of 22 billion euros. We divide that by 1.5 billion shares. And we get a calculated stock price of $14.92. They're trading at $11.58, so they're trading at a 22% discount. It's a buy according to the model. The average analyst projects their revenue to grow 6.3%. I grew their revenue 6.3% for the next 4 years. That's how I got their future revenue estimates. To get their future free cash flows, I needed to see what percent of their revenue they convert to free cash flow. So I summed up these 4 free cash flow numbers. I divided by these 4 revenue numbers, and that comes out to 3.8%. So I multiplied their future revenue estimates by 3.8%. That's how I got their future free cash flows. Simply Wall Street values the company at $6.89, so they're saying it's 68% overvalued. I think that's because Simply Wall Street had a really high WACC for this company. 2 analysts priced the American stock, and the American stock is trading at $13.42. Their price target was $14.32, and both analysts rate this stock a hold. This stock only went up 126% since 1990, while the S&P 500 went up 2,500%. When you invest in a stock that pays a high dividend, the stock price doesn't appreciate that much. If you added the 5% dividend into this calculation, it will be a lot higher than 126%. In the past 12 months, the S&P is up 34%. This stock is up 110%. The Spanish stock exchange is up 100%. So this stock seems to be doing well the past 12 months. and they pay a 5.2% dividend yield. They pay a semi-annual dividend, and their payout ratio is 208%. I would not look at the payout ratio for this company. Dividend over free cash flow is a better indicator, and that's 43%. Their industry pays a 3.6% dividend, so they're much higher than their industry. And analysts are forecasting their dividend to grow to 5.6%. They have a beta of 1.47, so the stock moves 1.5 times the market. It's gone up 122% in the past 52 weeks, while the S&P is up 40%. The 52-week low was €5, the high was €12, and the stock is trading above its 50-day and 200-day moving average. This is a popular stock in Spain. Over 7 million shares are traded each day. Of the 1.5 billion shares outstanding, 1.4 billion are on float. 32% are held by institutions. They pretty much had the same amount of employees they had in 2015. They currently have 22,000. If you put $10,000 into this company 10 years ago and reinvested the dividends, you'd have $8,200 today. That's an 18% loss. The biggest shareholder is BlackRock at 5%. Then Amundi, the French asset manager. Sacir owns 4%. This is a Spanish construction company. Then Vanguard and Norges Bank. Let's look at their financial ratios. They have a pretty high PE ratio of 40. They have a really good price to sales of 0.5. So their revenue is double their market cap. And they have a really good price to book of 0.8. They have a low return on invested capital of 7%. They can easily cover their interest payments 7 times. Their ROE is only 2%. They have a good current ratio of 1.2, but their quick ratio is below 1, it's 0.9. They have over 6.6 billion euros of cash on their balance sheet, 4.6 billion of inventory. So they do seem to be well capitalized. They had over 2 billion of free cash flow in the trailing 12 months, 2.9 billion of working capital. They pay out 900 million in dividend payments, so they have over 4 billion euros of funding. The best way to look at ratios to compare them to companies in the same industry. I've done videos of 9 companies in the same industry as REP. And if REP has a number in red, they're worse than the average. If they have a number in blue, they're better than the average. So they are better in all the price multiples. Their current ratio and ROE is same as the average. They're a little higher in debt than the average company. I converted all the market caps to euros, and they're much smaller than the average because there's some really big American companies on this list. And they do pay one of the highest dividends on this list. Exxon does pay higher. So to summarize, I have them trading at a 22% discount. Oil and gas companies are pretty stable investments. It's unlikely a company like that's going to go bankrupt because it's such a vital commodity, it's always needed. And this is the largest oil and gas company in Spain. It's really important this company continues its operations so the Spanish economy can continue their operations. Let me know if you invest in this company or if you live in Spain and have more information about them. I rank their free cash flow as 8 out of 10, their revenue 6 out of 10, and their ratio 6 out of 10. So let me know what you think. Give this video a like, subscribe, or comment below. Also, if you'd like to get a custom valuation or just support the channel, you can become a member by clicking on the link in the description below. Thanks for watching.